There is a specific place on the female body that a woman guards with her entire being. And no, you are not thinking about that vulgar place. This area is far more subtle, so intimate, so exclusive. The moment she allows you to touch it, she has already lost the internal battle against her emotions. And here is the most ironic part. You may have already touched it without realizing what that moment truly meant to her. A research project conducted by the University of Oxford analyzed the dynamics of over 15 couples and uncovered something that completely reshaped how we understand attraction. What they found was simple, yet powerful. Women possess an internal body map of intimacy, and depending on which areas they allow physical contact, you can accurately decode what they truly feel about you. This is the hidden treasure. Most men have no idea this map even exists. Today, I will guide you through every layer of this map, from the most socially acceptable zones to the final mysterious area that, once permitted, silently decides your fate in her heart. But before we reach that revelation, you must understand something essential. Touch is the secret language of attraction, and ignoring its signals can quietly destroy the deepest connection of your life. As a woman, I'm about to reveal something many of us would never openly admit. When we fall for someone, our own bodies betray us. We can hide disinterest on our faces. We can speak words that sound cold or distant, but our bodies operate on a different clock, and that clock never lies. Neuroscientist Loretta Bruning, an expert in emotional hormones, explains that physical touch triggers the release of oxytocin, widely known as the bonding hormone. However, there is a critical detail most people never mention. Women only release oxytocin through touch when attraction already exists. If the attraction is absent, that same touch produces cortisol, the stress hormone. In simple terms, our nervous system instantly decides, move closer to him, or create distance immediately, all through chemical reactions we do not consciously control. So how can you know which category you fall into? The answer is remarkably simple. By observing which areas of her body she allows you to touch. Before you dismiss this as nonsense, understand this. Decades of research support this phenomenon. Social touch has been extensively studied by evolutionary psychologists, and they all agree on one fundamental principle. The parts of the body a person allows access to are directly linked to emotional intimacy. Now, let's begin breaking down this map, layer by layer, because the final layer is something almost no one talks about. The first layer, public zones. Public zones are areas of the body that can be touched in ordinary social situations without creating discomfort. These include the hands, forearms, shoulders, and upper back. If she allows contact in these areas, congratulations. She does not dislike you, but it does not mean she is emotionally invested yet. Still, even within these public zones, subtle signals matter. If she holds your hand longer than necessary, that matters. If she doesn't pull away when you touch her shoulder, or even leans closer, that matters. If she casually finds reasons to touch your arm during conversation, the interaction has already shifted. This is the beginning. But stopping here would be like reading the title of a book and assuming you know the entire story. Because now, we move deeper. The second layer, semi-private zones. Semi-private areas are guarded, but not locked. These include the lower back, the sides of the torso, the side of the neck, and the upper arms near the shoulder. When a woman allows you to touch these areas without stiffening, stepping away, or inventing excuses to move, she is communicating one thing: trust. Psychologist Helen Fisher describes trust as the structural foundation of romantic attachment. In one social experiment conducted in nightclubs, researchers observed interactions between men and women throughout the evening. Later, they tracked which interactions resulted in exchanged phone numbers. The outcome was striking. When a man placed his hand on a woman's lower back and she responded by leaning toward him, those interactions were 85% more likely to lead to further connection. The key was not the touch itself, it was her response. If she leaned in, if she turned her body toward him, if she smiled during the contact, that was the unspoken message. I like this. Continue. But if she subtly stepped away, crossed her arms, or suddenly became interested in something else nearby, that was where a silent but absolute no, a critical mistake most men make. Many men fail not because they touch, but because they escalate too quickly. Touch works like steps on a staircase. You must climb one step at a time. If she allows a touch on the shoulder and you immediately jump to her lower back, her nervous system panics. Even if attraction exists, the speed can destroy the moment. Progress must feel natural. A brief touch on the arm during shared laughter. Later, a hand on the shoulder while telling a story. Eventually, a gentle touch on the back while walking together. Each step prepares the next. And when she not only allows it, but begins to touch you back, that is your green light. Now we enter a layer most men never fully understand. These are not openly sexual areas, yet they are far more revealing than anything physical. I'm talking about what I call secret, non-intimate zones. Areas reserved only for people with whom a woman feels a genuine emotional bond. These include the face, especially the cheeks and jawline, the hair, the upper neck during close embraces, and something that may surprise you completely, the feet. Yes, the feet. A study published in the Journal of Nonverbal Behavior revealed something fascinating. Humans are extremely protective of their feet. At first, this sounds strange, but evolution explains it clearly. Our feet connect us to the ground. They represent balance, stability, and vulnerability. Allowing someone to touch them unconsciously signals deep trust. But let's focus on where the real gold lies: the hair and the face. When a woman allows you to touch her hair, or when she repeatedly touches it herself, while speaking to you, something powerful is happening inside her brain. The scalp contains hundreds of nerve endings. Gentle contact here activates pleasure-related responses. If she allows you into this space, she is sharing comfort and emotional warmth with you. And then there is the face. Think about how many people touch your face in a normal day. Almost no one. The face is sacred territory. Allowing someone to touch it is like opening the door to your inner self. If she lets you brush hair away from her face, if she allows your fingers to rest on her cheek, and if she closes her eyes or leans into your hand, you no longer need instructions. Her body has already answered. But here is a critical warning. If emotional connection has not been built, never touch a woman's face. It is the fastest way to destroy attraction. Touching her face too early is like trying to enter a house through a second-floor window without ever approaching the front door. Connection must evolve, naturally, step by step. Why touch is a language. To understand why all of this matters, we must look at one of the most remarkable studies ever conducted on human touch. Psychologist Matthew Hertenstein from DePauw University designed an experiment where two people were separated by a curtain. They could not see or hear each other. One person would touch the other's hand in an attempt to communicate a specific emotion. No words, no eye contact, just touch. The results were astonishing. Participants correctly identified emotions, such as affection, gratitude, sympathy, and love, with 78% accuracy. This proves something profound. Touch is a language older than words. Our brains are wired to understand it instantly. And this is where another powerful concept enters the picture: the permission dance. Psychologist Nancy Henley studied how power and affection manifest through physical contact. She discovered that the person who initiates touch often holds emotional or social power. But what truly mattered was how the other person responded. When touch was welcomed and reciprocated, it created what she called affection reciprocity, a gradual dance where both individuals slowly escalated closeness. This is exactly how attraction unfolds when a woman begins to fall for you. First, she allows public zones, then semi-private zones, then secret emotional zones, and finally, the most protected areas of all, how to recognize true acceptance versus tolerance. Here is something many men misunderstand. Sometimes a woman allows touch, even when she doesn't truly want it. This can be dangerously misleading, unless you know what to look for. True acceptance has 3 signs. First, muscle relaxation. If her body softens, her shoulders drop, and her breathing slows, that is genuine comfort. Second, leaning toward you. Humans instinctively move closer to what they desire. Even a 1 centimeter lean toward your touch matters. Third, reciprocity. If she begins to touch you back, even subtly, that is a clear green light. Now compare that to rejection signals. Muscle tension, crossed arms after touch, turning her body away, suddenly focusing on her phone or surroundings. And here is something I want you to understand deeply. As a woman, many of us are conditioned to be polite. We avoid confrontation. We avoid awkwardness. But the body never lies. If her body says no, respect it. A personal confession. Let me tell you a true story. Years ago, I met a man at a friend's gathering. We talked all night. The chemistry was undeniable, but he was so careful, so afraid of crossing a line, that he never touched me once. When we parted, I was confused. I liked him, but I had no proof he felt the same. He later told me he was terrified of making a mistake. His fear nearly erased a beautiful connection. Now compare that with another situation. A close friend of mine went on a date with a man who ignored all boundaries. From the beginning, he touched excessively. No permission. No progression. She felt uncomfortable. Not because touch is wrong, but because trust had not been built. One failed due to hesitation, the other due to excess. The balance lies in awareness. The final most guarded zones. Now we reach the moment you've been waiting for. The most protected areas of the female body are not what you think. They are not overtly sexual. They are deeply vulnerable. The first is the inside of the wrists. This area is delicate. Veins are close to the surface. The pulse is visible. Historically, exposing the wrist symbolized trust and surrender. Allowing someone to touch them is an act of deep emotional openness. If you gently hold her hand and your fingers rest on the inner wrist, and she doesn't pull away, if she relaxes, if she smiles, if she leans closer, you are witnessing emotional surrender. The second is the back of the neck, just below the hairline. This area is filled with nerve endings and impossible to protect visually. Allowing access here requires total trust. When a woman permits you to touch her neck from behind, she is saying without words, I feel safe with you. I want you close. How to use this knowledge naturally. Do not treat this as a checklist. This is not a strategy. It is understanding. Observe her responses. Does she lean in? Or move away? Does her body relax? Or tense? Does she mirror your touch? Or avoid it? Let her reactions guide you. If she responds positively, you may progress slowly. If she hesitates, step back and deepen emotional connection first. Common mistakes that destroy attraction. Touching too fast. Ignoring her reactions. Jumping levels without progression. Never touching out of fear. Touching only when you want something. Touch should flow naturally throughout interaction, not only at decisive moments. A transformation story. A friend of mine, let's call him Carlos, struggled with dating. Great conversations. No second dates. Once he learned to introduce gentle, respectful touch and observe responses, everything changed. On his next date, he noticed how she leaned in, how she smiled, how she began touching him back. As they parted, he gently touched her wrist. She intertwined her fingers with his. Today, she is his wife. The core truth. The human body is a map of intimacy. What a woman allows you to touch, and how she responds, reveals her true feelings. Public zones open conversation. Semi-private zones reveal trust. Secret zones confirm emotional depth. And the wrist and neck confirm surrender. But remember, it is never about the touch. It is about the response. And the body always answers honestly. I once met a man who understood this instinctively. After a deeply connected evening, I became quieter. Not because I lost interest, but because my emotions needed processing. He didn't chase me. He didn't disappear. He simply remained warm, present, and grounded. That calm allowed my attraction to grow safely. Had he panicked or pulled away, the connection would have ended. Instead, it deepened. Now that you understand the map of touch, and now that you understand false rejection, there is one final concept you must master. Because sometimes, when a woman appears cold and distant, she is not pulling away. She is amplifying desire. And if you misread that signal, you will lose her at the exact moment she wanted you most. That is why the next video is essential. Its title is, When She Acts Cold and Pulls Away, Desire Multiplies. It explains the paradox most men never understand. Watch it carefully, because once you see it, you will never confuse silence with rejection again. I'll see you there.